this is probably one of the premier courses in the fire brigade as far as I'm concerned. It's a great experience for the guys. It's one of the few courses where we can actually expose the trainees to the real hazards, right, and the real feeling of actually a job. Right. The only thing missing is the actual emergency call. Right. We're exposing them to all the same conditions, the gravity, the wind, the rain, whatever presents itself on the day, they get to do it. The course is a 4-week course. The instructors do a 7-week program, and the students do a 4-week program. And what we're doing is we're gradually taking them just through the basic line mobility skills. We call it personal mobility skills, like descending and ascending, and we'll gradually build over the next 4 weeks onto where they're escorting people in stretchers, where they're being raised up the side of buildings, where they're being lowered down the side of buildings.
Nice and neat. 150mm tail, 4 wraps. Everybody happy with that?
Well, it all comes down to ropes and knots. It's all about ropes and knots, and they learn more from there. So to get on the course, you have to have a pretty good understanding of your ropes, basic fire brigade general purpose ropes and knots, and your rescue knots. And we actually then start talking about more of the specialised hard equipment, like the harnesses, the descent device or the friction devices, the ascending of ropes, how to lower loads down and how to raise loads up.
Put it in park, stop there.
Oh, are you there, Ben?
Well, the inversion drill has got several things we cover off on. Because the guys will be working on overhangs on buildings and cliffs and wherever they go on industrial sites, what we have to do is instill in them that if they do happen to invert, if they do get tangled up or whatever, they can actually hang there without any problem. And the idea is we actually get them to physically invert on purpose, so they can understand they can't fall out of the harness, the device is going to hold them, they're not going to just career into the ground, right? And then we get them to actually practice the recovery of the inversion drill.
No worries, stop, place your ID in park. All right, that's no worries, and bring yourself back around. Down the rope, half metre. No worries, mate.
And speaking to the guys at 10, some of the things that they've told me about what we're going to be doing, jumping off the Collins Street towers and jumping into the hole at the pumping station in Footscray, the SAC towers down in Gippsland, pretty high, so yeah, that's all in front of us now.
Do you know how the course is assessed? I mean, what's considered a successful outcome for you?
Not dying.
And swing your feet down and your body up. Everything's done in bite-sized chunks. We don't give them too much too soon. It's like while we're here now, it's day 2, we're working at level 5. Right, it's not like we've gone to Collins Towers today and said, here's a 55-storey building, off you go. Because at that stage, I dare say, a lot of people would just throw the harness on the ground and say, no, it ain't going to work for me. Hence, things like the inversion drill. We gradually build upon these little building blocks to get their confidence up in the equipment, in the systems that they employ, and then they get this opportunity to actually employ them on the big buildings. The guys can be a little bit nervous. As the course goes on, that generally they sort of learn to control that a bit better. But all it is just the guys getting used to working at height. You've got to remember that some of those guys have never actually been off the ground before.
You've got to work well in a team. Attention to detail, because one slip up somewhere in the chain can lead to a catastrophic consequence. So you must have an eye for detail and a lot of common sense, particularly when you're selecting anchor points. Well, we train the guys that they can recognise what is a good anchor point, what is not, and they've got to apply that in real life situations where it's never ideal, particularly in might be raining, might be dark. So the ability to apply what they've learned in a practical situation makes a good hard operator.
This is the first time we've had the opportunity to actually work up here, right, on DV ports, and it's a rare opportunity to actually get to work on the cranes themselves, because as you can see, if you look down along the long run, you can actually see that these are the only cranes out of service today that have got a full agenda. There is actually nothing for the person either rappelling or being lowered or whatever to actually gain purchase. It's very unprotected.
One of the challenges we face here is finding our anchor points and sort of understanding, the engineering, I guess, of certain parts, making sure that we can use them, as well as having a lot of cables and beams and a whole bunch of different things in your way when you're trying to get people off a height like this.
We essentially had a couple of scenarios running. Our scenario was we had a driver of the crane had a heart attack in the cabin, and we were tasked with getting that person down to ground level. So the other people, they had another drill going with a broken ankle, so they had to get that patient down to the ground level.
Yep, that's good, because the line of pull is actually going to be to the outside of that handrail.
Nice and easy lower. The toughest part of the course was really sort of just getting used to the gear and having confidence in the gear. So I'm sure there's not one person on the course that at some stage, just thought, oh shit, I hope that rope holds, or anything like that. But we all know now that you can hang your car off it and it's not going to be going anywhere. So yeah, so it's good So it's good for everyone to know that if you're out there having to be rescued, just tell them when you're going up to get them. You pull two of your cars up on this one rope, so you don't have to worry.
They're probably going to choose their anchors first, where they want to be with the stretcher, and then you guys will have to decide where to fit your anchors in between that stuff. Only one set of rigging packs as well today, so you need to think about the equipment and what they'll need. Certainly from an instructor's perspective, we would never be putting any of our students in danger, so there's systems and processes in place to minimise the risk and stuff, but there's plenty of potential for danger when you're hanging however many stories off a building.
We liaise pretty strongly with the search and rescue department of the police, so we have a good relationship with them and work in with them whenever possible.
Most of the heart jobs I've been to have been rescuing bits of signage or scaffolding or something that's flapping around off a high-rise building in the city. So I've been to a few suicide jobs where we get sent to tie on the police negotiator.
This course in particular, obviously, the working from heights, the rappelling and those sorts of things are good, but it's also a very technical course, and so I've enjoyed the almost engineering side of it in terms of developing rigging systems and so forth. So that's certainly been one of the better aspects for me. Yeah.
The application process was more involved than I sort of thought it would be with the interview. The interview was more, I won't say confronting, but more involved than I thought it would be. And look, I'm glad I researched as much as I did, because I had to call upon it.
It's very competitive to get on the course. A lot of guys want to do it. So, and I think it's a great course as far as personal confidence goes and stuff like that. So, people really self-develop on the course.
Hard work, but great fun.
Practice.